So, welcome to the live coverage of the Finn Open European Championships here in Athens. So, how do things look? We should be settling into race number 6, but I can let you know there's been a short AP, so a short delay. The race committee have set the time for a 2:15 start. So that's 45 minutes time. So 45 minutes from wherever you are on your clock. It may not be 2:15 to you. Of course, that's local time. Or, as I say, 12:15 for GMT. So, as I say, tune in 45 minutes time. But let's have a little update. Obviously, that drone shot looking down on the marina. The ribs are all still there. All of the people just starting to make their way to the boats now, and the boat's going to be shortly launching and heading out towards that race course. But after 5 mouth-watering races that have happened, we have Giles Scott at the top of the table. But we saw in that last race that little slip up. I picked up a 23rd, and you can see obviously in those last couple of races for most of the people in that top 10 all picking up a quite a difficult result. It showed how difficult the conditions were and how tricky and challenging they've been on the waters here in Athens. And so it shows this championship is wide open. So Scott sits in first place. Andy Maloney in second, so holds on to his position after yesterday. A bit of a tricky fourth race for him as well. Alichan Kainar, bit of a duff result in that third race, but again is moving up the table. The person who consistently strung it together yesterday was the Argentinian there, Facundo Alazar, taking a second and a fourth. So great results for him. And then, of course, big names all sitting back behind him, the world champion, then the Frenchman Jonathan Laubert as well. He picked up a black flag, which happened as a general recall on the attempt at one of the starts for race number 4. So, bit of a shame for him. Likewise, Nicholas Heiner, another big name, picking up a black flag. But a guy also making a charge through the fleet after winning a race to rapturous applause on race number 4 was the home favourite, Mitakis. So those are the 9 countries that are qualified as of Aarhus, the World Championships as last year. The 9th country there, Japan, is the host nation, so a guaranteed a spot. But so those countries are safe. They have booked their place to Tokyo. But there is some large, heavy-hitting nations that have not been put up and not been selected as of yet. So lots of work still to do. Certainly for the Croatian, the Americans, Brazilian, Australian, the Finns, Norway, and of course the Frenchman Jonathan Laubert. So very, very tricky kind of conditions for them. As you can see, people now starting to get votes onto the water. So we will be underway with race number 6 shortly. Start time, as I say, in about 40 minutes time, about 15:15. So please make sure you come back, join us then for what's going to prove to be an exciting afternoon. The breeze is going to build. We are keeping fingers crossed that's exactly what we have. And I believe they will go for the 3 races to try and scoop back up that one we dropped on day 1. So make sure you join us live back here on the channel at 15:15, wherever you are. So in about 40 minutes time, get ready for race number 6 of the Finn Open European Championships. wind, and neither the sea breeze or land breeze winning, but a phenomenal second day. 3 races all booked in there, and yesterday again, bit of an overcast day. We had a little bit of a postponement early on, but then the breeze came in, and as you can see from the highlights video there, the kind of conditions that they had out on the water yesterday. 2 races applied. Unfortunately for that man that you just saw there, Nicholas Heine on Netherlands 89, it was black flagged. We ran, there were a couple of general recalls, one on a black flag, and they pulled out 3 or 4 boats from that. So it's been a tough day's racing yesterday. A lot of order names picking up some big results there. There was only a couple of boats. Facundo Alazar, he picked up 2 solid results. Hi, Simon. So we're going to run this setup. Okay, we are live. You can see the AP flag up on the committee boat. You can see glorious sunshine. The breeze is there. They're just obviously just sorting out the course, getting everything set up. All 84 boats out on the water for this Finn Open European Championship. Day 4. 5 races complete, 1 discard in, and it is the Olympic champion that leads by a small margin over Andy Maloney from New Zealand and Alijan Kanar in 3rd. So we can see the flags and the continents and the leaderboard popping up on that left-hand side for us now. Some names starting to creep back up the leaderboard. Alazar was in a league of his own yesterday, was the only one that found some real consistency, and look at a 2 and a 4 that drew him back up. You can see everyone else all picking up a bit of a scrabbled together last race or a 4th race. Some black flags all thrown in as well. So you can see the boats out there. The orange flag is up. The postponement flag is down. So we will be underway very shortly. So as you can see, slightly different camera setup today and things that are going on. So all sorts of fun and games out in Athens with technical bits. So apologies from that, but hopefully it still allows you to all soak down exactly what's going on. There we see the class flag up, the starting sequence back in action. But look at the conditions. First day that we've seen with some bright sunshine. They had the very similar conditions on the practice race day. Then a day without any wind whatsoever on the first day. So we dropped a couple of races. We've scooped one up on day 2. But we've had some pretty overcast, a little bit of rain around as well that have dampened things down. But also, it's also helped the breeze because it's just meant there's not been that constant battle between a sea breeze and the land breeze. But all the boats out there will have done their pre-start checks, going back through their routines, seeing how things go. We see the U flag go up there, probably just to add a little bit of a bit more of a redundancy to make sure people just hold back from that line a little bit more. We had 2 general recalls fairly quickly. It was very, very busy on that start line yesterday. 2 general recalls. The black flag went up and the second general recall was on black flag. And as you'll see from those results, 2 of those people that picked up those penalties were Jonathan Lobert from France and also Nicholas Heine from the Netherlands. So down to the pin end as we look back. So you can see the bulk of the fleet quite content with sitting up towards the committee boat end at the moment. Of course, the likelihood of the boats just starting to spread out across that line. So the breeze out on the water, from what I have picked up. I believe we have a nice sort of 10, 11 knots that is due to build. So fingers crossed we will have some superb racing this afternoon. 5 races done. The aim for 3 today to try and pick up that last one that was lost on day 1. And just to reinforce what could potentially happen, the weather forecast on that left-hand side, we see that breeze starting to increase. The direction, it's been moving around a fair amount, but that actual velocity has been increasing. And by looking at that, hopefully the thermal support of that will enable a bit more breeze to come in, which obviously will just create spectacular conditions for these sailors. So just trying to get a feed onto how long to go. So probably somewhere into about a couple of minutes, just keeping an eye on where we're doing with that. But all exciting stuff. Sorry about the feed at the moment. We're just trying to regain the picture here and go back to something. Of course, this is the very, very important sort of element of it. So there's a lot of course, results and events that are thrown in throughout the calendar now, and across the calendar, with World Cup Series events to qualifying events to World Championships, European Championships, and of course your home national championship. There's multiple events, and it's about these sailors picking the right events for themselves that set them up to create the greatest preparation going towards the games. And of course, this one, if you've had a look at the entry list and so on from there, you will see every single name under the sun is here. It doesn't really need any reinforcement from exactly that, is that all of the names you would expect to be here are there. And looking at that image right there, we can pick up on Josh Jr. in the middle. We've also got Anders Pedersen tucked down towards this side. So just trying to get that a little bit of, we have got Nednad Bugarin from Croatia. They are off and racing. A good start from Josh Jr. there. Just bow forward on that section. The Croatian right on this pin end, just up from the Bermudan and one of the Japanese boats. So we can see boats. Josip Olwich is just down there with the world champion. Hungary 40 is there. We see a boat returning. That is Turkey 35. I believe that is Alichin. And another boat going back as well. Is that a general recall boat? There's a lot of boats peeling back now, so it could easily be a general recall, waiting for that information to come back to me. Certainly looks like it from my side. There we go. So confirmation, general recall. So again, eager to get away with this fleet, no matter how talented, how skilled they are. We've thrown in another general recall, so it will be going back to the drawing board, resetting, focusing on that pre-start. What went right, what went wrong? Were people set up too early? Were they leaning into that race a little bit early? Were they up on that line at a time that they didn't need to be? So huge amount of analysis to go on for all of the sailors. But we're certainly hoping that will be the only general recall. I'm sure the race committee will go straight to black. We saw yesterday trying to make sure they can get this race underway. So just to get confirmation of that, that was a U flag general recall. And so likely, as I've said, they go to black, but I wait for confirmation on that. So we saw a couple of big names yesterday get caught out by the black flag yesterday. One was Jonathan Laubert, and obviously now that is his discard, and so hoping to not pick up any further results. He would have had a really nice string of results from the last one on this second day, scoring a 5th, but then a superb race win in that last race yesterday. So that was a bit of a kicker to him. Likewise, Nicholas Heine. But fortunately for Nicholas Heine, the only real saving grace is that his fellow countryman, Peter Jan Posma, is not really found his rhythm here in Athens, has sort of struggled to find any real kind of pace and settle into a strategy that seems to be working for him. So again, a bit of a battle between the two Kiwi sailors as well. Josh Jr. at the moment being the one that's trying to play catch up. So as we wait for the boats to reset for this recall, the cameras have flicked back to the studio in Athens with our two Greek commentators. So we have decided, rather than looking at two good-looking faces, we decided to flick back into the highlights clip, seeing Oisin McClellan there, the Irishman, had a good couple of races yesterday. Really enjoyed the conditions. The last race finishing 7th. So yeah, very, very pleased with that. But some big scores being put on the board as of yesterday. Certainly that guy in the camera there, Giles Scott, the gold bib, still holds on to it. But after picking up a 23rd yesterday, it was only the saving grace of the discard that kept that how it was. But Andy Maloney breathing down his neck as well. And there are the results as I'm talking about them. So 8 points, 4 points back to 12th, Andy Maloney. Then a nice bit of breathing space back from him, 11-point gap to Alichan Kana. And then it all starts to tighten up with Olazar, Burkez, Laubert, Pedersen, all primed, ready to make the jump. And again, all of the sailors will, you know, they've been there, they've done that, huge experience, knowledge, but there'll be a slight sort of a devil on the shoulder, a little inkling of, I cannot afford to let slip another race. They've all carrying their discards and all using their discards. So we are waiting for pictures back out on the water to join, so apologies for this. We are going to be joining the next start literally in the next minute. So look forward to jumping back out onto the water to see exactly what's going on. And the question will be, will we see that infamous black flag headed up? So as we wait for the pictures to come, still just waiting on the cameras or the trackers just to be able to pick up from that. The information I'm hearing is that they have started there. It is all clear. And that is the start that we are tuning right in. So right in front of us, the Croatian Olwich coming off from this pin end again. We have seen him perform well and start to crawl back. So a lot of people sitting in that mid to left section we saw pretty dominant. 89 there from the Netherlands is Nicholas Heine. So looking to certainly put everything to bed as of yesterday. That black flag, but coming back strong in the last race. Alichan Kanar in shot there, a little bit further back. Not probably the best place that he could have wanted to be, but he's all okay. Fellow countryman was picked up, obviously similar position to him. And there we tune in with Alichan. You can see the red dot on his sail. That is symbolizing the third position that he was in going out to today's race. Of course, that could easily change. We could see any colors of dots or bibs on any of the sailors out there at the moment with the conditions we've got. But look at that, spectacular conditions. The sailors shoulders back, working these boats over quite, again, a sloppy sea state. I'm sure that's been a reasonable challenge for the sailors to be able to keep that boat driving. It's just stopping it any time that waves are just trying to punt through. It's just constantly making the boats wanting to just pitch up, stop. It's about just constantly keeping it driving. But very different conditions to what we had seen before. As the sailors, again, you'll see them work this mid section of the race course. No one really broke out too far to the side. They might sort of move towards that side a little bit and protect it if they're feeling confident on that side. But as of the last sort of couple of days, there's not really been one favoured side, not one that you would really commit yourself to. So working that midsection of the fleet, always keeping in contention with the fleet, coming back in, putting yourself always in control of it. By doing that, you've got the opportunity to hit the left, hit the right, move towards the shifts. As and where boats come in, it gives you the opportunity to tack out, clear your air, move yourself in and around that fleet. If you're already starting to push to one side straight away, you've instantly limited your options, your choices. You're already putting yourself to one side of the race course. And certainly when you get up towards that halfway mark of the course, that's the biggest stretch you can have between all of the boats. If one boat was over to the far left side, one over towards the right, then that's exactly where it could all spread out. So as the camera boat moves its way up this left side of the race course, you can see how tightly packed everyone is. Zomba Berquez, the world champion, just left of centre, looking in a pretty strong position. So all looking quite nicely for him at the moment. But again, there's no way at this point a done dusted. Right, that's put me at the front. That's what I need to do. Huge amount of work to go in. Again, Max Salmonen really struggling to find the wheels this week, and let's say a bit frustrating for him. Looking to certainly change his fortunes this week by these latter bits. So we've got Jorg Zarafin about mid-side of the race. Caleb Payne's looking in a great position again. Giles Scott, he's just to the left of centre. You've got the dark boat as we jump away. So there, Greece 77 is Metakas, currently sat in 9th position at the moment, looking to slowly climb up that leaderboard a little bit more, pinching away every single time. But so far, so good. The other sailors in picture. The Croatian up above him, number 10, that's Nednad Bugarin, looking to try, and he's had a good couple of races in the early stages of this regatta, but then a couple of very difficult races yesterday. So he's, again, certainly looking to improve on those. And again, GBR 71 is Henry Weatherall, part of five boats, five boats from the UK to head out here. Of course, quite a strong squad of boats, from your Olympic champion to your European champion, Giles Scott and Ed Wright. And so these young guns all learning from the very best in the business. And again, bringing back to that hardest point that I think we're all trying to deal with is the loss of the Finns for the games at the moment, and this constant push for reinstatement, because a huge number of sailors like Henry Weatherall and many other younger sailors are in this class trying to learn their way, gain their experience, take their knocks, get that resilience back up and jump themselves forward, and do exactly like anyone else has to in any class. And to have that taken away from them now throws a real spanner in their works of, do they continue in this fleet? Does it, if it doesn't lead to the road to the Olympics, which is what many of all these sailors are racing for, then will they have to look for a different pathway? Will, you know, the Finn class will always remain as one of the greatest boats on and off the water, and the names that have come through it, but does it open up and offer what the sailors require when it is not an Olympic class? That will be remain to be seen. But again, some pretty fierce, I guess, sort of decisions to be made still with regard to that. And again, it's very much a bit of the jury's out with this on where it is. So Moisin of Finland right out on that right hand side. Again, you can see got a really nice jump alongside him. Decisions to be made still with the British boat as well, just down, just left the picture. That is Josh Jr., New Zealand 24 again. Found himself a nice little pace here. This is down towards this left hand side, so he's working towards this left side of the race course. As we zoom in here on the Italian, the British boat as well, just left the picture. I believe Federico Calanino, 24 again, found himself a nice little pace here. And then Matakas just up above him, and Nednad again, sort of as they work towards this left hand side of the course. So that sea state, we've seen it a lot lumpier, and it clearly, as soon as that breeze kind of kicks in, it really starts to shake up the water, disturb it, try and make things a bit more difficult to force the boats through. But it's looking pretty comfortable at that point. Lots of work still to go in from all of the sailors, but so far so good. Our tracker on the left hand side identifying Zomba Burquez as the leading boat at the moment, but you know, looking through where these boats are, I've said there's a fairly good case for a few of these boats that are wedged up in that middle section. Tom Ramshaw is quite a distance towards the right, along with Andy Maloney, Anders Pedersen and Luke Muller. So they've been coming out to the right. This is the right hand side we're now picking up on the drone. So just trying to see where we can get with these sailors. A few of these boats that are wedged up in that middle section. Tom Ramshaw again, just waiting for that camera to stabilise a little bit before committing to who that is. That's the Turkish sailor. I'm pretty sure that's not Alichan, because there is no dot on that sail. So that will be his fellow countryman, Can Akdurak. That middle section, Tom Ramshaw again, just again committing out towards that right hand side. Sure, he's not going to be best pleased by that rib going straight across in front of him and creating any more waves or problems to manoeuvre. Top right corner, we can see there's about 11.3 sort of knots of breeze out on there. His fellow countryman, Can Big separation here towards the right. Again, it is Ineos Metakas really committing himself to that right-hand side. Strange to see him want to break that far away from everyone. There's about 11.3 sort of knots of breeze out on there. It's quite a distance towards that right-hand side. A few other boats, James Dag out towards that right-hand side. Demokos and Nemeth, the Hungarian, also out towards that side. That far away from everyone. There's about 11.3 sort of knots of breeze out on there. It's quite a distance towards that right-hand side. As we sit with the pictures far towards this right side, this is Metakas just going out of shot. And you can see the fleet all poised up on that left-hand side. Still quite hazy in the air. You can see what's around. So this is the Hungarian Nemeth trying to come back towards the fleet, put himself in touching distance. When you create this much separation, of course, one of those sides could come good. There's certainly no quarrels on committing to a side if you're confident and you're out in front. But certainly when we've had the racing that we've had and trying to close that gap down, come back towards the fleet, on the leaders. Every single point matters. We know it's easy to pick up big mistakes, and that's what sailing's all about, really. It's about going out, sailing the best race you can. But of course, every single person's going to make a mistake at some point, and so in a way, we can flip it on its head, and it's all about trying to minimise the amount of mistakes you make on the water. And so, of course, the variables that all the sailors have to deal with, the weather conditions, the water conditions, the way you set that rig up, the way you feel, your fitness, your mental control and the mental strength of being able to deal with that. The bigger the separation, the harder it is to try and keep in contention. And look at that as a tracker shot. Really starts to show some of the boats sitting out. And so, as I said, Moisio, is the Finnish boat in the centre of the screen, the red one. He's got a good clear bow forward, so he's really got a nice set of wheels underneath him there and going well. We've seen out towards that right-hand side, that is the boat from Hong Kong, James Dag. He's a long way towards that right and just back from that edge. But also, again, Zomba Burkes, he's just tucked down towards that left side. He's in a nice position again. So, a lot of the runners and riders are where they need to be. Luke Muller, Hong Kong, James Dag, he is mixed in there as well, so quite hard to identify exactly on that race course. So just picking up, here we go from the drone shot again out towards this right hand side. So a lot of the runners and riders are where they need to be. Luke Muller, Hong Kong, he is mixed in there as well, so quite hard to identify. Beautiful pictures. That cloud now just starting to clear off that left-hand side of the hills over Athens. Picking up many of the sailors drone shot again, all heading into what can only be described as obviously one of the most nostalgic sort of Olympic venues you can possibly go to, and to be on these waters, I don't think any of it's lost on these sailors. So what can only be described as obviously one of the most nostalgic sort of Olympic venues you can possibly go to, and as the boats start to converge in about in this top third of beat from Hong Kong, looking in a about in this top third of beat James Dag. So here are the boats hovering towards that right-hand side, trying to protect it all the way as they come in towards the mark. But by putting themselves out towards this right-hand side as they come in on that lay line, anyone that approaches just in front of them, opportunity to be able to tack straight in front of them. Come in on that lay line, anyone that approaches just in front of them, opportunity. As soon as they're tacked in front, that's the from that ley line. Anyone that approaches just in probable side of dirty air, and whether you take that tack back out, get out onto that ley line. As soon as you start getting bumped from that ley line, then let's say you're sailing at greater distance. As soon as you start getting bumped from that ley line, then let's say you're sailing at greater distance. As soon as you start getting bumped from that ley line, then let's say you're sailing at greater distance. So we can see Nemeth from Hungary, the arm goes out, plenty of breeze, then using that extra arm for leverage. He works his way towards this side, trying to just keep himself clear, then using that extra arm for leverage. He works his way towards this side, trying to just keep himself clear, then using that extra arm for leverage. He works his way towards this side, trying to just keep himself clear, then using that extra arm for leverage. Now, this is where it's going to be the telltale story, where these boats are going to get themselves around that windward mark. Who is going to come in on those positions? Where these boats are going to get Are we going to see the names that we expect at that top of the fleet? Are we going to see the names that we expect? Or are we going to quickly find? It's been a shake-up, or are we going to quickly find? It's been a shake-up. We have one of the French boats coming across. Oh no, sorry, apologies, Italian coming across, just trying to... Very difficult to pick up that sail number at the angle they were at as they were coming across. Just trying to sure that's Matteo coming across there and just shot out a picture, trying to protect that right side. Just trying to sure that's Matteo coming across there and just shot out a picture, trying to protect that right side. Just trying to sure that's Matteo coming across there and just shot out a picture, trying to protect that right side. As the drone tracks in, we're starting to pick up guys that are still far out towards this right-hand side. We're going to see a lot of the leading arrowhead boats coming in from that right. Guys that are still far out towards this right-hand side. As and when we start to pick up on them, leading arrowhead boats coming in from that right. Guys that are still far out towards. We can get to that top mark. We'll really start to identify where everyone is. We can get to that top mark, we'll really start to identify. So, as they close in on that top mark, it is that leading arrowhead from mid to left again. So, as they close in on that top mark, it is that leading arrowhead from mid to left again. Just keeping control at the front of this course is Walteri Moisio. Control at the front of looking good as he crosses over on port and starts to put himself to right of that arrowhead there. Good as he crosses on the British sailors up there. Just trying to identify exactly that number again. On the British sailors up there. Just trying to identify. I don't think it's Giles Scott. It certainly looks. Potentially Callum Dixon alongside the Swiss boat there, where Nils Thenunuk, potentially Callum Dixon alongside. So doing very nicely and putting himself in that position where we need to. Potentially Callum Dixon alongside. So that leaderboard constantly chopping and changing as it goes through this first beat. So that leaderboard constantly chopping and changing as it goes through this first beat. So all closing in on this top mark. We've taken about 19 or so minutes to get to this top mark, so it's been again a good stretch to give their legs a good workout to get to this top mark. So it's been again from Ramshaw over towards that right hand side. To get to this top mark, so it's been again from Ramshaw over towards that right hand side. Now they close in on this mark. You can see Jorg Zaref is a little bit back in that sort of pack. Is fighting hard, trying to hold a lane, keep himself clear and not get himself sunk down. Back in that sort of pack. Is fighting hard, trying to hold a lane, keep himself clear and not get himself sunk down. Whether it's the same strategy being going down from the Finns, but Tom Ramshaw looks like he's in a pretty solid position as well. Jonathan Lobert is in a very, very deep position on this left-hand side. So at the windward mark, Jonathan missed one sort of going round, but that was Kistianov, the Russian, around. There's Nils around for Switzerland. Kistianov, the Spanish sailor, going around now. Switzerland and Sassara. So a mixed bag. There's Annie Maloney with the bib and the blue dot on. Tom Ramshaw also around. Look how tight Anders Pedersen's trying to squeeze around on that inside. There's Max Salmonen as well. Jorg Zaref trying to shoot the mark, looking very, very tight. Whether he's had the power to be able to do that. He's gone round. Whether there's any calls for protest. Nicholas Heine coming in on that left track as well as Jan Posma. Sorry, we lost a shot again. Coming in on that left track as well as Jan Posma. Sorry, we lost a shot again. Coming in on that left track as well as. So we're back to the tracker. Obviously, the tracker's a bit behind on where everyone should be because we've got boats going round. Back to the tracker. Obviously, the tracker's a bit behind on going back to the studio, so clearly some problems from that side of things. Going back to the studio, so clearly just trying to problems from that side of things. Certainly seems to be a day of entertainment with technology. There's all sorts of things not loving life at the moment, so apologies for this. There's all sorts of things not loving. So round we go. There's that top mark again. So just trying to pick up where people are. I can see in the bottom right hand shot was Giles Scott, the yellow bib. So he's quite deep again. Not a great first beat, and whether he was just about to go into a spin, he looked back. But there, what a shocker! Alichan Kanar just squeezing round now. The red bib. He is very, very deep in this race course. A huge amount of work to do, and likewise the home crowd are not going to want to see this image as it comes round this orange mark. That is Matakas. The home crowd are not going to hopes see this image as it comes now resting on that man's shoulder. That's Jock Calvert, the Australian. Just Matakas just behind him. Now resting on that man's shoulder. That's Jock Calvert. So very difficult conditions and are catching out some of the greatest names within the Finn class in sailing, and so it is certainly, this regatta is nowhere near over. There's Ned Nadgan Rao. Both the Croatians have obviously clear strategy for both of them, and it has not worked out. So that is Josip Ulrich and Ned Nadbuggerin just going round together. Rockal Evans, the Bermudan, also around. Josip Ulrich, Moritz Spitzauer around together. From Austria is around. Moritz Spitzauer, but very, very tricky conditions for all of them. That was Callum Dixon, the British. John Round just losing shot again, but out in front for all of them. That was we saw early on, and we're trying to pick up. It is losing shot again. Arkady Kistianov, we saw from Russia, Russia number 6. It is doing a very good job at holding back everybody. Got a bit of breathing space. Doing a very good job. Looking good at the moment. Everybody got a bit of breathing in the mid part of that race course. So all looking good at the moment. Spanish Pablo Guatine Sarari. So all looking at the moment. Spanish Pablo Guatine looking very comfortable there. And also Denis Karpak looking very comfortable from there. Estonia, and also Denis Karpak. Trying to identify, it is Tom Ramshaw is the orange line, just back from the leading Russian boat. So he is there. Anders Pedersen tucked right in behind him as well. Over towards that left-hand side. Andy Maloney exactly doing what he needed to do. I can tell you, Giles Scott is one of the orange boats right back in the middle of that host of colours. I can tell it looks like a rainbow back there, and that's exactly where he is. So full pressure on him, and certainly with Andy Maloney keeping himself in touch at the front of this fleet. This could be a real shake-up of the leaderboard. In touch at the front of this fleet. This could be a real shake-up of the leaderboard. So as we track downwind for the first time, race number 6, track down. Now we've got the live pigeon, join them here. Anders Pedersen just on that left-hand side. So the lead boat's just out of shot. Pigeon, join them here. Anders Pedersen just on that left-hand side. So the lead boat's just out of shot. Pigeon, join them here. Anders Pedersen just on that left-hand side. So the lead boat's just out of shot. Pigeon, join them here. Anders Pedersen just on that left-hand side. But look at that. Champagne conditions out in Athens. You can see why champagne conditions. Many people are heading back out to Athens. Athens are being pretty proactive on the sailing circuit, trying to regenerate, get boats out there, get the competitions back out there, and I'm sure this is, however tricky the conditions have been, this is what sailing's all about. So the pumping all coming in now, so just a confirmation that was because the Oscar flag is being shown at that windward mark, so giving them all the opportunity to make up their space, shown at that windward mark, so giving them all the opportunity, but very difficult conditions at the moment. So far, Russia lead here, and this is the main man right in front of us. So Kistianov, Russia lead here. He's had we've seen him pop up a few times and slot together a couple of solid races. He's currently currently positioned in 19th place after 5 races. His best result is 7th in that first one, but again picked up a real shocker of a 61st in that last race. So what a way to bounce from one end of the fleet back up to the front of the fleet, and is extending out in front of everyone. He has settled into that rhythm, giving himself a bit of breathing space, is extending out in front of everyone. So of course, what we're going to certainly see, I'm sure, at this regatta is a slightly higher point scoring regatta, of course, with some of the points that they've all picked up on. Is a slightly higher point scoring regatta, of course, with some of the points that they've all picking up on Jorg Zarif. A lot of boats on the inside though. One boat who's on exactly where he would like to be is Andy Maloney, and so as we look at that picture, he is just back on that left hand side, second boat in from the left, sitting probably somewhere in the top 7, second boat in from the left, sitting probably somewhere in the top 7, second boat in from the left. We will get pictures again shortly and go back out on the water, but what a phenomenal regatta this is proving to be, and it's there we go, look at those shots, just superb, looking back up the fleet, proving to be, and that is Andy Maloney in the middle of picture with that bright coloured bib on, working very hard. He's got to thread the needle between these two boats up in front of him. bright colours. The Swiss just taking that extra jibe in now. You can see making use of every possible wave. No let up. Just taking that extra mentioned it a few times before of just what an amazing boat this is for sailing downwind. The energy you can put into it, the excitement, what an amazing boat this is. The physicality of it is huge. The energy you can put into it, the excitement. As they pick and wind their way downwind, trying to identify those smoother gaps in the water to slide the boat through, position themselves in the right place of the wave to get that power of the wave to drive the boat forward, slide the boat through, position themselves in the right place of the wave to get that power of the wave to drive the boat forward. Spectacular conditions out on the water, but I'm sure not one of these sailors is looking up. Spectacular conditions, scanning around the coastline. But I'm sure not looking out for those very iconic scanning around monuments, the Parthenon and everything else based in Athens. They will be locked in on the wave in front of them, where they can picture their way, looking back over the shoulder. Where is the next boat? Where is that gust coming from? Do they need to position themselves left or right? Which gate mark are they going to choose from as they approach down towards this gate mark? Decisions already starting to play in. How many extra maneuvers are you willing to take? Where do you want to go on this course? Are you willing to sacrifice a bit of dirty air to put yourself there, or have you got a clear lane through? So all about getting in sync with these shifts and picking their way forward. Here they come, downwind. So all about getting in sync with these shifts from Russia leads here in race number 6. Good boat speed downwind, jibing and taking the right hand gate mark as we look at it. Good boat speed, big powerful sheeting on that mainsail. The right hand gate mark as we look at it. Now comes the Swiss on that mainsail. Up into second, Nils Fenninuk. Now Andy Maloney around in third. Up into second, Nils Anders Pedersen tucked in right with the Spanish breathing down his neck and the British. Anders Pedersen tucked in from Ramshaw, Spanish getting himself back up into the mix. Max Selman squeezing on the inside. Jörg Zarif is there. That's Nicholas Heine, Dutchman 89 just behind. He's going to have to follow. Zomba Berquez, Hungary 40, your world champion, round behind him. He's going to have to follow. Zomba Berquez, Hungary 40, your world champion, round behind him. Fionn Linden from Ireland having to give room to Kyle Martin as he squeezes round on the inside. To give room to Kyle Martin as he squeezes round on the inside. Just getting round comfortably. Walteri Moisio. There's Giles got the gold dot on it, having to give space. Caleb Payne in and around. There's Giles Christopherson squeezing round as well. So you can see how far Giles got, how much room he had to give. Now he's only just being able to sheet in and accelerate. So again, it came down to positioning where he wanted to position himself rather than trying to squeeze round on the outside, because it's such a busy mark, very easy to lose. Rather than trying to squeeze round on the outside, because it's such a busy mark, very easy to lose. Rather than trying to squeeze round on the outside, because it's such a busy mark, very easy to lose. Rather than so this is the first gate mark, and you can see how busy it is. And again, just phenomenal racing here. We watch the sort of lower part of the pack start squeezing in, but very, very tricky for you to find a clear lane. And this is what makes this racing so phenomenal in the Finn. All just trying to find your way and pick your way through. Jock Calvert, long way back there as well, so not a great race for him so far. Join him back there. Long way back there as well, so not a great. He Chen, Luin Xian, the Chinese sailors. Join him back there. There's Rockall Evans, the Bermudan, just getting round as well. Now, if you look from his angle, look at the congestion up in front of him. Look at the number of sails that you've got to pick your way through. How do you start to define where you want to be going? You've got your strategy. You know which side of that race course is going to potentially be the most beneficial. How do you get there? How do you choose your lane? And this is where the tactics and strategy come down, and why so many fin sailors are brought into so many other classes. They all head off and do their offshore sailing, even on the just the bigger boats, from doing the maxis through to the TPs. We see a lot of them all changing boats. We see many of these guys with huge accolades within the Star Series. One of them, Jorg Zarif, Star World Champion in 2018. Of course, we've got Giles Scott, who's part of the America's Cup, the Ineos Team GBR team. So working very, very hard on all different areas of their sailing, not just solely on the fin. Again, very easy to forget, but a gold in London in the Star for Max Selman with Frederick Loof before he jumped into the fin. So again, massive amounts of experience and knowledge out on this race course, very sought after, and that's what comes down to why you can get yourself to the front of this fleet. It is a very difficult fleet to put yourself at the front of and work, not just from your fitness and work rate and understanding the rig and the boat prep and time going in, but how you manage to be resilient, take the knocks, be able to jump back in again, refocus. That's exactly what some of these sailors are doing. As you can see, the scrolling text at the bottom confirming those lead three boats. So Christianov first, separated by a single boat to Andy Maloney, who again is in a great position here. He's second overall, and this third place would be exactly what he would be after, and really start to tighten the screws on Giles Scott, apply that pressure. Giles Scott, we saw quite a way back and trying to pick his way through the rest of the fleet, all the congestion, no so much problems for Andy Maloney. And so again, if it is worse than a 23rd, Giles Scott will be counting 23 points. If it's not, then this will still be a counter for him and trying to play catch up, which is going to be quite detrimental to his overall score. And if Andy Maloney can just chalk another 3 points, this will see him jump to the top of the table. So already excitement starting to mount. We saw the Kiwi sailors, both Josh Jr. and Andy Maloney, in fine form at Palma at the Princess Sophia Trophy only a few weeks back, where we saw Giles Scott have to make do, slotting into second place. And he was split between both of those Kiwi sailors. So as we start to close, we're about halfway up this bit. Tricky conditions for all of the sailors, but the one who seems to be finding his feet is Christianov right in front of us here. But there we can see a little bit of a gain coming in. Ukrainian boats crossing out in front. Apologies, I don't think that picture was marrying up with the tracker, and it looked, I can identify, go back through. No, I believe that was Mikhail Latsin. So That's a little bit further down in the pack, so that wasn't the lead boat. So if you're a big fan of Arkady Kristianov, the Russian, he is still in that section in the mid part of the race course, keeping all of his main rivals towards his left-hand side. It's given him a bit of breathing space. Just back from him, Dutchman Nicholas Heine, Ned 89, just up onto the right of him. Thomas Ramshaw to the right of him. The world champion Burkes. So all sitting towards that mid to right side. Look at that for a shot. Panning out over the fleet. So the breeze is remaining at around about 11-12 knots. So again, the Oscar flag was displayed at the top of that race course. Within the fin, remember the penalty and the opportunity to pump is you're only allowed to do it downwind. And so upwind, you've got to work hard, but make sure that you don't overdo it. But interesting, I touched base a little bit on the Princess Sophia trophy. As I say, that was at the end of March, beginning of April. So I say now, probably about 6 weeks away. It was Andy Maloney. We 1 and 3. Well, it certainly shows that this form that Andy Maloney has found at the moment proving to be pretty good. So just having a look at those results. so much problem. So it'll keep going down that leaderboard until it identifies the next additional available 4 slots. Some of those names: Joseph Ulwich, he's out on that race course, looking to get Croatia qualified as well. Another man to try and get himself qualified is the Frenchman Jonathan Laubert, bronze medalist in London. He's been second at the Worlds in 2015 and 17. He was way back in 14th in Aarhus, which is why no qualified position yet. So again, a lot on his shoulders. Jorg Zarif as well. Caleb Payne for the USA. And Jorg Zarif for Brazil. Finland, their hopes, of course, sit on a couple of their sailors. Oskari Munhanen, very experienced sailor. But Tapio Nurkio is looking to be in place as well. He is the man that has been to 3 games, Beijing, London and Rio. But looking to, again, get themselves secured a spot. Australia is still looking for that spot and hopes again with Jake Lilly. Jake was 8th in Rio, but again 16th in Aarhus, which was causing him that spot. Again, Norway, Anders Pedersen, we've seen continuously up there in this event. And so currently sitting in 7th, which would certainly give him that slot and secure him in one of those places, which is exactly where he's going out to do. But again, lots of racing still to go. Again, another country looking to get themselves qualified is the host country here for the European Championships, is Greece. And their hopes, of course, there are a number of Greek Finn sailors out there. 5 sailors out on the water, but the most experienced is Inios Metakas. And they're not only looking to secure himself that position, but weight of the nation. Again, it's lovely. The support is there, but it's again, a lot of pressure rests on him on home waters to deliver. Currently sitting in 9th place before this 6th race was to take start. So lots still to go on. Many other names still to get themselves qualified as well. Just Spain, Poland, Germany, Czechoslovakia. So again, a lot of big names, and this is where the fight continues. And again, not only that, the battles on the race course, they've all got their own personal battles, but with the Dutch sailors, Nicholas Heine and Peter Jan Posma, they're both battling it out for themselves as part of their selection. So whether that adds more pressure, whether it fires them up even more to get that slot, then who knows. And at the moment, it's going in the way of Nicholas Heine so far. So as the camera boats, we can see that orange mark just up right of picture as they close in on this top mark for the final time in this race. We have run down towards the finish, and that little dog leg across to the finish line again can trip up enough people, because there's that lured mark. If you're able to squeeze on that inside of the mark, in shot the Austrian Moritz Spitzauer. Again, long way back, looking at the gap he's got to close between the boats in front of him. Stayed in the middle section of the course, likewise going for attack to keep him there. So now getting that boat back up to speed. non-stop working. It doesn't matter where you position in the race, how the start's gone. You just can never let that head drop. That commitment goes in. You've got to work and carry on all the way through. Any single point can change your position. You don't know what's going to happen. People picked up black flags. If this breeze increases, that might be something that a lot of the sailors are looking for. They all might like a bit more breeze. Some will be very content with the lighter conditions. The tricky conditions that were in Parma at the Princess Sophia Trophy, we had some pretty consistent sort of light breeze that was all over the place. Then they also had some fairly hefty breeze with some good waves as well. And that certainly shook up the race course. Round the top mark there. Just trying to identify if that's the exact one. So we've got Anders Pedersen just getting round. Kamoni, Jorg Zarif, Tom Ramshaw, Jake Lilly coming in now, Zomba Berkes, Max Selmanen now approaching in from the left-hand side. Nicholas Heine attacking in just behind them. So we didn't capture where Andy Maloney was or Kistafanov from Russia. So they could have easily squeezed around. Kistanov is probably somewhere off downwind pretty quick. Now as Fabian Pick comes round, there we see Kane Akadurak on the outside of the Argentinian Fernando Olazar. Can't see the sail number there to identify exactly which of the Americans that was going round. There, just back behind the Irishman is the Olympic champion Giles Scott. So he's definitely back somewhere late teens, maybe early 20s again. Going to be a hard old battle to get himself back through. So he's got Fionn Linden right in front of him. Oisin McClellan, the other Irish sailor, just tacking in at the mark, trying to find a gap and squeeze in. Again, Henry Weatherall squeezing round that spreader mark. We're seeing these jibes come in and getting themselves down on that side of the race course. There's Jan Posma. Not a great race again for himself, and certainly to see Nicholas Heine out in front, that will apply the pressure. So good to see He Chen from China taking that jibe. He's up, mixing it up in this. Lewis Brake from Australia taking the jibe now. Max Kohlhoff from Germany, again, a lot of work still to do. Valérien Lebrun going around the Frenchman, trying to close gap. Philip Kazuski as well, away back. Germany trying to get themselves qualified. They are a country that, again, plenty of firepower from that country within these sailors to get themselves qualified, but again, at the moment it is proving challenging and it is not going their way. Josip Ulrich only just getting round as well, so a long way back. That's Callum Dixon from the UK going round, jibing on the inside. Looked like the Australian Jock Calvert, so still plenty of work to do. Domonkos Nemes from Hungary, training partner to Zomba Berkes, way back as well. Lot of pressure on these guys. Now we capture as they go round the host nation for the Olympics. That is Yuki Nishio, one of two Japanese sailors that are here. Likewise with the second Chinese sailor just back going around that mark there. That is Luenshen trying to close the gap. Any points he can squeeze past, one boat at a time. That's all he's looking at. He's just focusing in on Rockall Evans just up in front of him. He is just trying to close that gap. Extra point, that's where you're at. It's now, do you take a bold move? Do you try and close that gap? It's just constantly pushing all the way forward. So at that top mark, I can confirm I'd also potentially ignore what is put out in front at the moment, because I would have said it is Kistianov and Andy Maloney that was still holding that little bit of a line out in front. Anders Pedersen just back from them, trying to close that gap. So Russia still leading the New Zealander, but Andy Maloney has really found a nice bit of pace, hovering on this right of middle downwind leg. We've seen he's got superb pace. The tracker there is identifying him out in front. So, as I said, from that top three mark, ignore that. I think that was just where it got picked up from the pictures. Now it's clear. There's the top three marks. So now Russia were first, then it was the Kiwi and the Swiss. But it looks like Andy Maloney has got the right rhythm, the right power downwind. He's picked the right line at the moment. If he is able to squeeze in front, this is going to do his championship a host of good, knowing that Giles Scott, with the pressure on him further back, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to try and pull through. So we stay with the tracker to give us that clear identification of where things are on the way down. So here it is, live pictures from that tracker. That is Andy Maloney. That is the lead as we look across towards that left side. A man possessed, working that boat, not letting up in any way. For sure is not going to give up. Next wave, there it is, the big pump, forcing it non-stop. Hand on that main sheet to just drive that boom towards that wind, maximize any bit of power. Big sort of turn downwind now to just put himself in front of that next wave. Nice defensive position here. Christianov trying to close that gap, but he led round that top mark. And so the speed that Andy Maloney must be carrying on this downwind leg is significant. Andy Maloney, winner of the Princess Sophia Trophy about 6 weeks back, still in fine form here, has come and trained out in Athens, will be packing his boat up, headed out towards Japan for the Olympic test event in August, where many of the sailors will be headed. Look at this, superb skill going into this boat. Andy Maloney knows what could happen here in this race, where this will propel him up into the gold jersey colour. that gold sticker on his sail. But of course, this is the first race of the day. Race committee keen to try and get 3 races in to scoop up that race they lost on the first day. So with this is the gauntlet being thrown down by Andy Maloney. Giles Scott, we saw deep in the pack, somewhere in the late teens, maybe early 20s. He picked up a 23rd yesterday, which is his discard. The jibe comes in from the New Zealander round that bottom gate mark. He won't give up. He'll still work the boat hard, like you can see, but it is surely now his. He'll be looking at that finish line. Will he sit back, have a bit of a breather? It certainly doesn't look like it. Still, look at that boom, constantly working on every single wave, trying to keep the drive. Weight comes back up, big push to leeward, now driving it down the next wave. So he is not giving up, even though that finish line is in touching distance. Christianov, we zoom out now to try and pick up, and still not in picture. So this race number 6, is going to go to Andy Maloney from New Zealand. Going into this race, he was in 2nd place. Hence the bib he's got on, the green bib, plus the blue dot on his sail. There comes the finish line into shot. Another race win for Andy Maloney. That takes 2 race wins in this championship for him. This will see him jump to 1st place. But a superb race from the Russian here. Arkady Christianov takes 2nd place. Just trying to identify the exact positionings as they cross the line. That looks like Jorg Zarif is up into 3rd, so he will have been pleased with that. Nils the Swiss will take 4th. Just trying to see whether that, pretty difficult to identify those positions because we're a little bit far away and not clear. You can see Tom Ramshaw crossing the line. Potentially looked like Jake Lilly was back in 6th. There we see another Australia. Sorry, that's Jake Lilly just crossing the line there. So Australia 1, that is Jake Lilly. He's just crossed the line. Just back from him. That's Jan Posma, Max Salmonen, Fabian Pick in shot, Dennis Karpak from Estonia. There is the gold bib of Giles Scott. So he certainly seemed to have made up a few places on that downwind leg. So that will be a counter for him. Anything better than that 23rd he picked up yesterday will be counting points. And to from where he was crossing that line, I would suggest it would probably been somewhere in and around sort of the mid-teens. But waiting for confirmation through the trackers and identify all of the shots as the fleets will continue to cross through the line. But what a performance from the young Kiwi man, Andy Maloney. Another race win. He won the 2nd race with, again, a pretty big margin. And he seems to have just repeated that. 2 third places, a 5th. He did pick up a 17th in yesterday's 4th race. Ed Wright, the European champion, crossing the line. Disappointed with that. Still, again, to find his form. New Zealand 24 just back here as well. That is Josh Jr. Andrei Tepley from Czechoslovakia just in front. China's He Shen crossing the line. Oskari Munhanon crossing the line now. So again, some head scratching going on. Some decisions to be made. Max Kolhoff leading in the next pack. So where do things go? 3 German boats coming in with Luke Muller just separating them. I can safely say in. Then food back on board. Give yourself the energy for the next race. Refocus. Analyze that race. Don't dwell on it, but analyze what happened. What worked? What went right? Then, of course, if the race went really well, what worked well? Can you repeat that? That's exactly what these people will be going on about. So as the rest of the boats finish up, that is the end of race number 6. Fingers crossed for 2 more races. The breeze is there. The sun is out. Champagne conditions in Athens. They will certainly be looking to run into race number 6 fairly quickly. But of course, give them all a bit of a break to rehydrate, get some energy back on, and perfect opportunity for you all to do the same. But make sure you join us back for race number 7. We will be live throughout race number 7 as well. Chance to go and check out the Facebook page, International Fin Class, Instagram Fin Class, Twitter Fin_class. Go and have a little look at what's on the social media, the great highlight clips being put together by Boo Outridge. So plenty going on. Again, a chance for you to maybe just check in Weymouth and see what's going on with the NACRAs and the 49ers as well, because more championships and European championships going on there. So certainly check out the results there. But make sure you join us back here for the Fin Open European Championships in Athens. Race number 7 coming up shortly.